Warning, this podcast may be disturbing to some listeners. Due to the graphic nature, listener discretion is advised. Welcome from wherever you are. This is the Demon Inside podcast. I am your host, John Venom. If you would like to review another episode of the Demon Inside, you can go to Spotify, Apple Music, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and any podcast platform. And please, don't forget to subscribe and rate us with 5 stars. A new episode will come out once a week. We will be right back after a word from our sponsors. Hey guys, now it's time for the shout out of the week, and I got 3 of them. First one is Izzy. Izzy is a awesome chick that I met a while back, and we started talking about spirituality and about the show, and she's amazing. We actually stay in contact now. We're friends. But give it up for Izzy. Then I want to say hi to Charms, which I still can't get used to. This is a friend of mine, Charms, who is actually sponsoring today's show with her store that she does readings and card readings and things like that. So if you get a chance, go down to the bottom of my page where the description is of this episode, and I will put a link to her Facebook. So if you guys are in the Corpus area, I would go out there and see Charms and tell her that I sent you, and she'll give you a reading. Then I want to talk about and shout out to my cousin, who is an amazing person. We actually hadn't seen each other in years, and I just started talking to her again, and I forgot how much family really means. And so this is for Suhain. This is your shout out. And I hope everybody, all 3 of you are doing great. I hope everybody out there is doing great. And let's get back to the show.
Sun in the sky. The sun is very powerful. Energy the solar flares it can deliver to this planet itself. Knock out every electronics, every mechanical, electromechanical apparatuses around the world, even in the sky itself. Airplanes will not fly. Cell phone towers knocked out.
Hello, my Demon Insiders, and welcome back to the Demon Inside. I'm your host, John Venom, and today we will be talking about the Demon Inside, Alex Kinyua. Now, Alex Kinyua was born in October 23rd of 1990 in Nairobi, Kenya. And as a child, his family immigrated from Kenya to Baltimore, Maryland. So eventually, Alex became a U.S. citizen. And at the age of 21, he was a junior at Morgan State University. Now, this is a historically black college and university. He was on track to becoming an electrical engineer and possibly an officer in the service. Now, he had a very good grade point average and had enough credits to be a senior in the fall, and he was also in ROTC program. The ROTC affiliated Military Honor Society at the university, the National Society of Pershing Rifle. And he was also part of a 175-person team, part of Los Alamos National Laboratory, which was actually, so Los Alamos National Laboratory addresses national security challenges by advancing breakthroughs in science and technology. So this is a very big deal. And they also work side by side with the Department of Energy. And this was in his field. But eventually, everything started spiraling out of control. Now, for me, and I'm letting you know this up front, I honestly think that Alex was battling schizophrenia, because in some of his posts that he would put up on Instagram or Facebook, he was saying things about the Matrix, and he was talking about other conspiracy theories, and he was talking about other fictitious stuff. Now, remember this. I've always brought this up, that I believe that a lot of these demon manifestations in people are usually in people that are experiencing psychotic breaks. And because of this one, it kind of shows exactly what I'm talking about. We're going to continue on, and I'm going to explain it as we go along. So, on October of 2011, Alex started to change, and friends noticed this.
This is Devin. Hey, sir, it's Detective Lane. So, like I was telling you before, I wanted to talk to you about Alex, and you were his roommate on a daily basis?
Yes, sir.
Okay. How long had you guys been living together?
We've been in the same dorm for 2 years, but that was my first year actually living in the same room with him.
Now, were you a friend of Alex, or you guys just lived together?
Yeah, I was a friend of his.
Okay. In the last couple years, had his behavior changed at all?
His behavior started changing in, I'll say, about December or January of this last year.
Okay. What kind of things did you see that made you think his behavior was changing?
Well, he just started acting different.
Did you ever see him have a skeleton hand? Not a real skeleton, but like a medical skeleton type of thing?
Yeah, he had one of those.
He had one of those? Now, when did he start carrying that around?
I'll say around March, maybe.
Did he ever do anything in his rooms that were strange or out of the ordinary?
He had weird videos that he used to watch, and then he would, he had, like, chanting books or something like that.
Chanting books?
I call them chanting books because they're not, like, normal, well, I don't want to say normal religious books, but I would say something kind of like voodoo, I guess.
Voodoo kind of thing?
Yeah.
The videos you're speaking of, what kind of videos would they be?
War videos, like torture, stuff along that end.
This is where he starts inviting whatever it was into him. Okay? Because his schizophrenia starts by feeling people are watching him. He's imagining things, like I said, the Matrix, which isn't demonology. But then all of a sudden, between October and the time that he kills, it's about demons. So let's continue, okay? So December 2011, he got kicked out of his college group for punching holes in the wall of the science lab. He was also posting on Facebook about human sacrifices. One of the posts that he put, and this was in February 2012, he posted a question on Facebook asking fellow students, and I quote, "Hear me out, butchers. Are you strong enough to endure ritual, HBCU, mass human sacrifices around the country and still be able to function as human beings? It's been all too tragic with the dual university shootings at Virginia Tech and other past university killings across the country. Now, for a twist, ethnic cleansing is the policy, strategy and tactics that will affect you directly or indirectly in the coming months. This is the brutal basis, an evil of terrifying method of this death cults," end quote. So Kinyua wrote on this page that, and this was a journal that he was keeping just like James Holmes, which is really interesting to me because he was keeping a journal like James Holmes, and this has to do something with college. It has to. This guy was a junior in college and a very smart guy, very smart, just like James Holmes, and he was keeping a journal. I don't know if he knew that he was becoming this way, but I think he had enough sense to start writing things down. as he started to fall into this psychosis, Kinyua began hallucinating and eventually created a delusional universe. He believed he was a prophet with secret powers. He wrote a manuscript about the history of mankind. He talked about a reptilian agenda from outer space. His stories featured African slaves and Bermuda Triangle. Kinyua stopped going to church and to school and developed his own spiritual beliefs and started spending time as a spiritual medium. He said he was a shaman. He burned incense and brought home animal parts. Once, he brought home a dead fox that he told his father and others he used in religious exercises. In December of 2011, he was released from ROTC. He believed people had sabotaged his computer records and had conspired to get him drunk, causing him to miss a football game. He punched holes in an office wall, prompting an ROTC official to call him a Virginia Tech waiting to happen. In January of 2012, his mother urged him to seek counseling for anger management problems. His friend Caesar said he recognized that Kinyua displayed troubling changes in his behavior. And Caesar recalled people saying that he's a creeper. Okay, but then Caesar noticed Kinyua kept a variety of weapons that included a machete and brass knuckles. Authorities said Caesar said he watched Kinyua get a tattoo of a portal on top of his bald head. On May 19th, Kinyua took a nap and heard voices telling him Caesar was a police snitch who was going to give him up on made-up charges. Now this right here is his schizophrenia. When Kinyua awoke, he waited for Caesar inside his campus apartment. When Caesar arrived, Kinyua surprised him. Caesar said the attack left him with cognitive issues and traumatic optic neuropathy caused by barbed wire striking a nerve. Now I'm going to play Caesar's interview of what happened. Listen to this.
And when I walked through that door, as soon as I crossed the threshold, I heard what I know to be God at this point now. Put your arm up. I felt something waving over me. And so I put my arm up, and underneath my arm, I could see a man standing there with a black sheet over his head. And I was knocked unconscious. I woke up in the back of the house. Mac opened the door. He says, "Stay in here. Don't go anywhere." I said, "What happened?" He said, "Stay here." And he closed the door. About a few seconds later, I hear a bunch of rumbling. Dun, 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 and commotion. I didn't know what was going on out there still to that time. Matt came back inside and he said, "Come out." When I came out, there was blood all over the place. And I didn't realize at that time it was mine. He said, Matt said, "We were playing the game when we heard a scream, a shriek. We ignored it." So Merriweather said, "Nope, that didn't sound right." And opened the door, and he saw Kenya was standing over top of me with a knife. There was a struggle and a fight over my body. That noise and commotion I said that I heard in the restroom that I was waiting in till Max said to come back out was them fighting off Kinyua a second time from coming in to get back to me.
So Kinyua believed that Caesar was involved in domestic terrorism. Now, the school gets rid of Kinyua. They arrest him, and his family actually bails him out. Okay, so now he's out on bail, and there's a guy who is living with his family from Kenya. But this guy goes missing. He goes out for a jog one day and ends up missing. Okay? The day after this guy goes missing, his brother actually called the police and said that something wasn't right, that he had found something in the basement.
We're here to talk about an incident that occurred last night. Why don't you go ahead, just in your own words, tell me what happened.
Last night, right before I took a shower, I was going to go get my laundry bag. So I went down to the basement and I opened the laundry door. And I saw my blanket on top of a box. And as I was lifting the blanket up, I saw two pans for baking. And in between them was a cutting board. So I lifted up the pans and then I saw three different objects, and they were kind of black with some gravy substance looking at them, and it looked like hands and a head. And as soon as I saw that, I really couldn't distinguish whether it was a face or somebody's face I knew or something. But I looked at it and I stopped myself. I stopped what I was doing. I went upstairs and I asked Alex, come down here. And I asked him, what is it? And he said, don't worry about it.
I'm going to explain what happened. So, what he did was he killed this man in his room with a knife, stabbed him, actually told him, are you ready to die? He said, you've met death. I'm death. We heard that with Garland Milian. And remember, Garland told the guy, are you ready to die? So let's continue. So, this kid, 21 years old at the time, the police take him in because something's not right with him. You know what I mean? The police already have a search warrant for the house. And what they find on a board that's above his bedroom door is this. And I quote, either some greater force of terror than death must be devised, or death will not be enough for coercion. End quote. That's what he had above his door in the room. And it was written on there. He also talks about that he has a journal, and in this journal he keeps how to talk to the police, how to the police do their interrogations, how to answer for the interrogations, so that he could easily, according to him, get past the interrogation without anybody suspecting him. Police, they found all this. Now, when they took him down, they hadn't found anything yet. They found some blood. They found some blood on his bed. Now, he was trying to come out with all these excuses why there was blood on his bed. He started saying that it was from a woman's period. You need to listen to his interrogation if you get a chance, because he's not as smart as he thinks he is, okay? And the dogs didn't pick up a scent. And I'm going to tell you why here in a second. So, this guy started telling the police that he would watch shockumentaries like his friend said. And then remember, his friend said that he was doing chanting. These were chanting videos like voodoo. And for me, that has a lot of resemblance to Jeffrey Dahmer. Jeffrey Dahmer was doing chanting before he would kill these guys. So, when the police went into the house a second time, they started, like I said, they started finding the blood underneath the mattress, and they found like other little pieces, key pieces. And so they started talking to him, and again, you know, they went back into the interview and they started talking to him again. This time, they started saying, we know what you did. You just need to confess. We already caught him. You know, we know everything. And his face changes, like completely changes, and he starts smiling, and he says, can I have a cigarette? The minute he says, "Can I have a cigarette?" you know that this guy is going to confess. So they keep the audio going. They go outside, they have light a cigarette for him, and he's still talking to the detectives, and he tells them, "I hid the body. It's here." And the police are kind of like confused, and they're saying, "Well, you didn't hide it here at the police station." He goes, "No, it's in my stomach." Now let that sink in for a little bit. Now we're going to go back to why the dogs didn't smell anything. I didn't know this, okay? This idiot, this guy, he put pepper flakes all over the house, all over the basement and in his room. He was under the assumption that if he put the pepper flakes, the dogs couldn't smell it. That's not why the dogs could not smell it. The dogs couldn't smell it because he cooked and ate this guy. He cooked and ate him. He ate his brain and he ate his heart. This is the same thing Dahmer did as well. So, when he confessed, he started saying that he was a spiritual being, a deity, that he was supernatural, that he was something powerful. After everything is said and done, this guy, Alexander Kinyua, 21-year-old college student who kept a journal just like James Holmes, who felt a spiritual awakening in him. I do believe this guy was a paranoid schizophrenic because there's videos of him doing a vlog and he's acting very paranoid, acting like people are trying to turn him in. He even says that he beat up Devin Caesar, because he thought that Caesar had told on him to the police. This is your regular schizophrenic. But when the demon got inside of him, this demon felt like he was powerful. As a matter of fact, even Alexander felt there was something wrong, because the day after the murder, he went to the church, his church, where he would go, him and his family, and he asked the priest if he could take home a Bible. Okay? Now, here's the other thing. He was actually arrested and charged, but he went to a hospital because of psychiatric. He needed the psychological help. So he's actually in an institute. Now, he is talking again about Terminators or whatever, the Matrix. He's talking about the reptilians. But he is not talking about demons, deities, angels, God, none of that. All he's talking about is paranoid, schizophrenic type of stuff, that people were out to get him, and all these like hallucinations about the sun and everything else. So I started looking deep into who I thought this was. And then I heard it. You guys are not going to believe what I'm about to tell you, because it was a shock to me. In one of his rantings, in one of his vlogs, he's talking about the shadows. He says he lives in the shadow. He hides in the shadow. And then he says it. I am the shadow man.
Observe the sunlight, the shadows, the shadow of the shadow.
Thanks for listening, guys. I'll talk to y'all next week. Don't forget to subscribe to the Demon Inside podcast on any podcast platform, and new episode of The Demon Inside will be released every week. Let us know what you think of the episode on all our social media platforms. If you have any questions or comments, go to the Demon Inside Podcast at gmail.com or click on the link down below. We would love to hear from you. And to become a Demon Insider, go to our website, thedemoninsidepodcast.com. We thank you for listening and hope you will join us next week for a new Demon Inside podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please tell your friends. I am John Venom, and I'll see you next time. If I don't get possessed. The Demon Inside was written and created by James Porter. It is a production of Venomous Entertainment. Background music is by Lucas King. And the title song, Demon Inside, was produced by Rice Pulver, composer lyricist Peter Shelley, and performed by Conjure One.